Hi, welcome to Awakening Soul Truth. I'm Robbie. This is my friend Allison. We're both meditation teachers, Reiki masters. I teach yoga, and Allison is a medium. And we've been having different conversations for over a year now through this channel. And we hope that you enjoy our messages. And please like, subscribe, and share.
So today we are focused on judgment. And specifically, the quote I would like to share with you is, "Judgment has never healed anyone." Being in judgment of others does not heal you. It does not heal them. It's actually something that I experience with great vigor over Thanksgiving. We just had Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving. I love being with my family. I love the food. I'm always in it for the food. I really had an opportunity to observe some pain that's happening for different members of my family. And in particular, two sisters experiencing great stress, not speaking to each other for over a year, that they were experiencing such separation and judgment of each other. And specifically what's happening is we're having one sister say they don't like the other's relationship. And they're in extreme judgment of the person that her sister's having the relationship with. And my thinking in observing all this is, okay, this is the perfect example of someone using judgment as a way of not facing their own pain. We don't judge others really unless it's gotten into our system or it is sparking our own issues. How would you say that?
Well, you were calling it a projection.
Yeah.
So basically, someone's projecting their own pain and experience onto someone else and judging them for that.
Mm-hmm. So we actually dig our heels in, and instead of owning our own pain, we actually say, hey, I'm seeing this fault in another human being, and I'm going to be really loud about it and clear that they're in the wrong.
Yeah.
But in truth, that is just a defense mechanism. And it is a really amazing opportunity for you to take ownership of defense mechanisms and judgment specifically and say, hey, what is it that I am really judging them about? What am I judging about? Well, in this case, I think one is afraid to feel like she might be a failure compared to her sister.
Mm-hmm.
She's not a failure. But she might be projecting the belief that she thinks the family thinks she is. And therefore she's saying, hey, whoever this person is you brought into our life, he's a failure. It's like the perfect example of how we can project. It's also a wonderful way to say, when I'm judging somebody, how can I take ownership of it? That's the other place of reflection. If you are in great judgment of another person, you're limiting your experience of love with them. And that's what's happening for my two cousins. One is hell-bent on judging the other's relationship and therefore is missing out on being sisters, on loving each other. So, you know what? That relationship that the one is choosing to have, we don't know what lesson it's to bring. There's no way we can even judge it. We don't know where she is in her story of relating to the divine.
Yeah.
Where is she on her healing path? She has a person in her life that she loves deeply, and that other person's showing up. They're experiencing love. Let's be really clear. Judgment stops you from loving and accepting. And it stops you from loving and accepting yourself first. Something you're not loving inside of yourself. That's why it's called a projection. judgment is the projection of something you're hiding from yourself internally.
You're bringing up some stuff from me from my past. I was brought up in a very conservative Christian atmosphere where, we read the scriptures, do not judge lest you be judged. Do not look at the splinter in another person's eye until you look at the log in your own eye. There's a lot of things about not judging.
Yeah.
But yet all of the messages that I heard, not all of them, but a lot of the messages I heard coming from the pulpit were very judgment based.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, one reason I left the church a number of years ago was I was being told by a family member that they were concerned about me going to hell. And it was the second time that they told me that within a year. I just thought, you know what? I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this church thing anymore. I think it's natural for people to judge.
Yeah.
But because of that experience with my upbringing and with the specific church that I'm speaking of and the teachings that they bring about, it has been an absolute goal of mine to stop as much judgment as possible on my part.
I love that for you.
And not that I don't judge, because I find myself in that mode just like anybody else. But I always kind of reflect back on, hey, this is judging and this is what I'm trying not to do.
Right.
Because people really should have their own freedom to be who they want to be and make the decisions and choices they want to make.
And there's no prerequisite or set determined things of how to get into the divine.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a pattern to fulfill. There's no goal that God has for you to get into the divine. Really, to be there is to have zero judgment of yourself and say, I'm accepting love. Right? At the end of the day, that's what it is. You're not going to hell. You're going to, just because you think differently.
Mm-hmm.
It's just heartbreaking that so many people think that whole groups of people are going to go to hell. Right? They're not going to hell. It is all about your relationship with love. That's all it's about. I'm going to say something really deep.
Okay.
I think sometimes that if you really are truly aligned with the Christ energy outside of religion, which was all based on love and releasing judgment and understanding that compassion is what heals another person, not judging them. If you're really aligned with this deeper place of truth, then you do let go of religion and you get to know the real Christ, and the real Christ will walk you down a path of healing judgment. So you and I are subject to a lot of people's judgments.
I feel that way.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people really judge us because we're not in the norm. We're not actually following the script of any particular religion, or we're kind of a mixed match of looking at life. But honestly, we use the tool of truth, and we really examine what holds up over time, what actually feels like the truth, where is love. I compare most things to feeling love. And you and I both have this incredible commitment to inner truth. And that's how we can come on this show. And we're very aware that judgment is happening to us, but it doesn't actually happen in our lives because we don't own other people's judgment of us. And I think that's a really important piece of our own ability to be wise about judgments of others. And we don't judge other people very often.
It almost makes me wonder, because we're in the profession that we are, for instance, when we're helping people heal through Reiki,
Mm-hmm.
I get intuitive hits with people, and I've learned very personal things about people
Yes.
that may be skeletons in their closet or things that they would never just openly tell me.
Can I make a point?
Yes.
The reason why you can see that and feel that is because you don't have judgment, and it is because you love. Is that what you're about to say?
Actually,
Sorry.
it was a little different, but I was about to say, I wonder if that's why we don't judge.
Absolutely.
It's because we're working with these people and gaining this understanding about them, and we're not passing judgment when things come up at all. Mm-mm. And I think that's how we build this trust and rapport with people, because they can tell we're not judging them. They can tell that we're being compassionate. They can tell that we're trying to help. Mm-hmm. And then they feel comfortable kind of, I'm not a counselor, but they will counsel with us, or even contact us when they're going through difficulty, wanting our opinion, because they know we're not going to judge.
And that exactly. We're not judging.
Yeah.
We're holding space for whatever your truth is.
Yeah.
What is, and you can only do that when you have compassion and love for others, truly in your heart. And I think that's a really good sign of a good therapist, or a good Reiki person, or a good, advisor, is that they're not judging you. They're not saying, I'm sorry, here are the circumstances, are you meeting them?
No, I've actually done fire ceremonies on releasing and letting go of moments where maybe I have noticed judgment, just to specifically burn that and make it super intentional.
Yeah.
And my boyfriend knows, if he ever wants to push one of my buttons, is to say that I'm judging something.
Wow.
Because he knows how strongly I feel about breaking that piece of my background.
Because you knew that was being used in the church as a tool against others.
Oh, it's used everywhere. I mean, I feel like it's used, yoga teachers judge each other.
Yeah.
Yoga studios judge each other. Like, it's literally everywhere. I wouldn't say it's specific to the church. It's just where I learned it first.
Where you experienced it.
And experienced it first.
Well, and I think you see judgment in our society in terms of competition. Like, you're not good enough. You're not going to be able to achieve this place because I'm better than you, and I will judge you and put you down until you stop competing with me. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people lose sight of their passions and their goals and this place of beauty that they know is true inside of them, because of the world of judgment, because what other people will think.
I've even had family members come through Nashville and not call me or meet with me or stay with me, even though they're staying here, because of the judgment they have that I'm living with my boyfriend. And we have created this family without the
rules,
without the marriage, without the paperwork, without the legality, and it's hurtful.
It is. And at the end of the day, you two experience deep love.
Yeah.
And I think that has more meaning than the actual piece of paper, or, when you really look at being judged by them, they're limiting their life experience.
I have a good story as an example.
Good.
So again, this comes back to yoga. But I owned a studio for about 13 years, and there was times where I would go scout for teachers if I really needed some. Mm-hmm. And at this particular juncture, I was dating a teacher, and one of my students said, hey, why don't you try this particular person? And my studio, by the way, was very inclusive, and I tried to have symbols around the studio that made everybody feel comfortable, whether you were Christian or Jewish or Hindu or Buddhist. Like, to me, it didn't matter. We're here to practice yoga, and your spirituality can or may not be part of your religion, right? It can be something completely separate.
Yeah.
But she happened to be a holy yoga teacher, which meant a Christian-based teacher. And I thought, well, I'm cool with that. I'm totally down with someone teaching from a Christian point of view, because there's days where I speak from a Christian point of view. There's days where I may speak from a Buddhist point of view or a Hindu point of view or a combination of all of them. And so I invited her to come into the studio. She taught a couple times a week and she was a fantastic teacher. And I went to a class with her the same week that I had gone to a church in Franklin because one of my students was doing the lesson that day. They both spoke on the same subject, and it was about Zacchaeus climbing the sycamore tree in order to get a good view. And
is that a Bible story?
It's a biblical story.
Okay, I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, it's a biblical story from the New Testament.
Okay.
And I thought it was interesting that it was the second time I was hearing this story. So after the yoga practice, everybody had left. It's just us in the studio. And I was like, hey, I just want you to know I really enjoyed your class. And it's so interesting. This is the second time I've heard the Zacchaeus story this week. And she looked at me with so much judgment.
Oh.
And she did not say this with a smile on her face, but she said, that's because Jesus wants back in your heart. And then she whirled around and left the building and left me sitting there like, what just happened?
Wow.
Because Jesus never left my heart.
Right.
But
wow.
Yeah, I was a little floored.
Really good example of people using Christ in the wrong way or Jesus in the wrong way. Like he would never, ever condemn another person with judgment, ever. There's no way that he could have, okay, in his creating of healing and miracles for other people, right? That it's kind of like what he's known for. Let's just think about this for a quick second. Is it possible for him to be judgment, or did he use judgment to heal these people? He didn't.
No.
He didn't say, well, you fell short of being a good, loving human being. He said, wow, that's some pain. I love you. I see you. I hold space for you to connect to your own heart again. I think that's more the message, because
that is the message.
That is the message. And judgment doesn't work. It doesn't heal people. It keeps yourself
judgment creates
separate.
Discord and separation.
Yeah. Total discord and separation. Disillusionment. I'm holding up my lie. I'm holding up my lie that I'm a better person than you.
Yeah.
And in the eyes
and
of God,
isn't it also,
there's none.
The judgment is coming from an egoic place.
Yeah.
That I'm better than you.
Absolutely.
Or I know better than you.
Absolutely, that's what it is. Do you know why? I healed a pedophile yesterday.
What?
Yeah. Don't be in judgment of it. I helped well, seriously.
No, I'm just like, why am I just hearing this?
Well, I mean, because I do it quite frequently. So a lot of pedophiles energetically are stuck.
Mm.
They can be stuck because the person that they harmed, the guilt that they feel when upon death, they're like, oh my God, I actually did this and God's going to reject me. So they stay stuck.
Okay.
Okay. So
I see that.
A lot of the people that I heal on, a lot of the ghosts that I help cross back to the light, it is truly, you're loved. I understand that this happened. Well, guess what? This guy, when I held space for loving him and putting compassion so that he could connect to his heart again, because that's what I do. I'm not saying I don't feel a little bit grossed out by the expression that they've had in hurting another human being. But there's no point in me saying, you're not allowed to go to heaven because you hurt another being. You need to go to the light.
That's such a good point.
Right. And so as I travel through their pain, I literally have to have no judgment. I have to get to their heart. I have to go through the story.
Right.
Well, he was a prisoner of war. And at a very young age. And when he came back to the United States, when he came back to live, where he was living, the only thing that gave him ease from his post-traumatic stress disorder was an orgasm. Well, guess what? He didn't have a lot of exposure to other people. And this is hard to hear. He needed that expression. He couldn't find it through the divine or anything else, and he used sex.
Yeah.
So I didn't judge it. So I said, okay, this is how it happened. I have compassion for you going through this pain, and this is how you healed it. Doesn't make it healthy because he harmed another person. And so he crossed. He had compassion for himself, and he can choose, wow, I don't want to do that anymore.
And it may have helped him to see that you could see that connection.
Absolutely.
Maybe he didn't see that connection, and then he just felt so much guilt and shame.
Right. He couldn't see it. Oh, also, the person that he harmed was attached to him.
Okay.
So you had a layered effect. And so I had the time to be with her also.
Yeah.
And I just held her heart until she reconnected with the dreams that she had in life, with the joy. So my goal for her was, let's get out of blame. Let's, that's right. Your life was really hard. But what is it that you love? How can we move you into your place of ownership of what is the expression that you want in life? And so she also healed. And they both crossed in their own way. But this is all because of having zero judgment and using compassion. And I will tell you one thing, if I get really stuck and it really hits my buttons, because it did in the beginning, right? I would be like, blah, blah, afterwards, that's all gone. I'm not attached to, that's their pain that I was freaking out about.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if we're really going to look at what heals us, it's love, acceptance, and compassion. And if you can't do that, naturally, you turn to the divine. You turn to God. You turn to Jesus. You turn to Buddha. You turn to Allah. All of these are tools. You turn to nature. You turn to the connection that can give you love and understanding.
That's what I felt at the Jesus Cave in India, was nothing but an overwhelm of love, unconditional love, full of acceptance, passing no judgment, and offering so much forgiveness.
Yeah.
It is the formula.
It really is.
Acceptance, forgiveness, compassion,
love.
And love.
Yeah. And we're asking you to hold that space for yourselves, because we are in this time and everybody's stuff is up. When seeing my family over Thanksgiving, it really highlighted what society at whole is going through. I don't get a great glimpse of that because people come to me for the big stuff, but I don't see maybe the general population on a regular basis. And I really was like, wow, we are truly in our, we're truly in our shadow side. It felt like everyone in my family was shadow. It felt like everyone in my family was facing part of their shadow. And
this is not something that happens when you guys are typically together, because you've never come back from these gatherings with your family saying this. It was just this.
Yeah, it was
this
so
time.
intense.
But it's also during the time of the Great Collapse.
Yeah. And
the Great Collapse and all the light coming in to expose everyone's shadow, everyone's stuff, all the greed, corruption, mistruths, and all of it.
So be brave to heal your own shadow side. Let's do a meditation on dissolving the false truths or the false beliefs that we have that keep us in judgment of ourselves. You don't have to be different from who you really are. All right? So take a deep breath in. Just allowing your thoughts to drop down to noticing your breath. Noticing the rise and fall of your chest. Just allowing the ease that comes when you connect with your breath. A deep sense of softness, support, connection, just by breathing. I am connecting to my divine essence. I am connecting to my heart. I am opening my heart and allowing the love to nurture me and fill me. And as this love begins to expand into my energy field, I let go of judgment. I let go of these patterns of judging others. I let go of the pattern of criticizing and blaming others. I dissolve this defense mechanism and I face the false belief that I'm holding. I have the courage, the compassion, and the love that's radiating from my heart to look at and face these criticisms and judgment. I'm done blaming others. For my own disconnect. So I can use my judgment of others as a tool to recognize how I am cut off from the truth, from the love that exists here and now. I am good enough to receive God's love. I'm good enough to receive divine love. I let all those barriers collapse. I feel the joy on the other side, the love, the peace. I have the courage to love myself completely. And let go of all the behavior that stops me from love. I let go of false thinking and judgment. And I sit in the place of love and acceptance. I am love.